Hello and welcome to the Happy Insights podcast. My name is Happy Ali. I am your host. I want to welcome you back to the show. I have Rebecca Wildbear on the show again. I'm so excited. Thank you for coming back on the show, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so excited to have you on 2 episodes. And just in case you don't know, Rebecca is the author of Wild Yoga, Practice of Initiation, Veneration, Advocacy for Earth. She is a creator of a yoga practice called Wild Yoga, where she empowers individuals to tune into the mysteries that live within the Earth community, dreams, and their own wild nature. Thanks again for coming on the show. I am so excited to talk about this topic because if you don't know, if you didn't see the last episode or hear it, this is her book, Wild Yoga. It is a practice of initiation, veneration, advocacy for the earth. As I said before, this book is amazing. When you open it up and you just get to like page 2, you realize that you are a very special person. You literally were talking about trees and trees talking back to you. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I talk to trees, I talk to nature, and it does talk back to me. And it can seem hard to understand that for people that don't do that or don't know about that, which is probably most people in the world nowadays. But it wasn't like that for most of the time humans have been on the planet. For most of the time that humans have been around, talking and listening to nature was a natural instinct and a way of living. It's only really in the last few hundred years that people have gotten separated more and more from nature and from the idea that nature is a sentient, alive being to have a relationship with. As you know, our culture kind of views it as a lifeless commodity, and instead it's alive. It has relationship. It has a whole intelligence to it, and that's a big part of when I look at what can turn our culture around or what can change the way things are going right now in the world. It seems like at the foundation of it is very simply realizing that these beings are alive and have life and give to us all the time and are a part of us. And so a lot of my book is focused on how can we get back into that? How can we have a relationship with the earth?
I had a aha moment about a year ago when I really understood that we are Earth, that we're not people on Earth. Because I used to think that we were just separate from the Earth and we were people on Earth. Then I thought, wow, okay, we are made from Earth. There's nothing that came from anywhere else. I mean, of course, we came from stardust and star material, but that's where the Earth came from. And we crept, we are the Earth. And as long as we separate ourselves from the earth, I think we're missing out on the big picture because we're kind of just another organ of the earth. We're just the little people, the little things that are walking around. But unfortunately, we've become pathogens that hurt the earth a little bit more because we forgot we're part of the greater whole. But that was what just turned on for me. And I all of a sudden became even more in tuned with the planet because now I realize that I was maybe its thumb or its brain or it's something, not obviously it's not its brain, but it was something, and I just really just made me connect to the earth so much more. And I told my boys, I have twin 6-year-old boys, about a woman I was interviewing today, and they said, who is she? Because they want to know everything. And I said, she's someone who talks to trees and they talk back to her. And the first question was, do the trees do their mouths move or can she hear it in their head? I said, I promise I will ask her. So I said, I'm guessing that the trees' mouths don't move because they don't have mouths and they speak telepathically. So I wanted to ask you about that. For my boys, that's their question, not mine.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that makes sense that I could see not only a 6-year-old but anybody asking that question. How exactly does that happen? How can you tell? And a lot of it happens via imagination, which 6-year-olds know a lot about. They're able to, usually imagine all sorts of things. And as you grow up, sometimes you get told that imagination is not real. It's not a real way of knowing. It's like the people will say that's not real. It's imagination. But that way of seeing things, that something is not real because it's imagination, is not true. There's kind of a belief in our culture that if we think something that is real, But if we imagine something, that is not real. But thinking and imagination are both ways of knowing, as are emotions, and physical sensations. So part of being able to listen to nature has to do with establishing a connection to nature, spending time there, getting the mind quiet and out of the thinking mind and the normal stories, and just really looking and connecting and being curious. And there's a lot of steps I have to kind of slowly go through that. And but also coming back to having a conversation with nature, it really is opening to what I would call our deep imagination, which is different from the surface imagination. I think of the surface imagination as when the mind and the imagination are sort of like working together. Like the mind is kind of coming up with some things, it's sort of directing things, but there's also some things that seem like they're coming a little bit from somewhere else. But the deep imagination, when it is happens, when it almost seems like you can't believe what just came up because it's not anything you would have thought of at all. It's so far from like the trajectory of your thinking mind. It just sort of bubbles up. So that tends to be the deep imagination. So having an understanding of imagination while you're out in nature and talking to nature, can allow you, is one way to allow you to listen to nature. I mean, there can always be all sorts of signs and synchronicities and things that happen in your body when you're talking. For example, you can, the wind or the weather can change, or an animal can come. That can all be part of the conversation. It could be that suddenly you have physical sensations in your body, or certain emotions arise, or certain memories flash forward that just came out of nowhere. And or certain dream images come up. So those are all parts of the conversation. But also, one other possibility is that while you're having a conversation with nature, certain words or a thought or something or an idea can pop into your mind that would not have been what you would have come up with if you were just trying to think of the answer.
I think of it like channeling nature, because I believe in channeling. I'm a spontaneous channel. I can receive information. And sometimes I do receive something that's just feels more nature based. And sometimes I get stuff that's just, it's from otherworldly. It's so sad that it's such a lost practice, communing with nature. I listened to a pop artist, and she was talking about her last album, and they were asking how she wrote the album. And she said, I just went into the forest and I waited till the forest gave me the album. And then I went back and recorded it.
Wow, great. Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
I thought it would.
And sometimes people go out to nature. I find this a lot with people that I work with in programs, and they don't have any conversation with nature, and they can feel like, oh gosh, well, it didn't happen for me. Um, but I think it's valuable to go out and talk to nature, even if you don't think you have an answer. You can court an answer, like it might not be immediate. Like, I don't know your friend who got the album, she might have a great connection and it came right away. Or sometimes it can involve multiple conversations, and it seems like nothing happens until finally it does. So there's a patience and a persistence and a courting that comes with having a conversation with nature.
It's amazing. It's all about really just going within yourself too. I think quieting the chatter and allowing the inner part of you just tap into everything that is, and basically having a spirit connection. You talked about the spirit and the soul, by the way. I might be jumping around, but I really don't want to forget that question. Can you tell me about spirit and soul? And I mean, I can think of nature having spirit. I don't necessarily can think of nature having a soul, but I think of myself as having spirit and soul. Can you give me your version of it?
Yeah, I see soul often, or the journey of soul, which is something I guide people on, takes us on a journey like a bit downward. It's very earthy and like underground, numinous. It can have a dark quality or dreamlike quality. Uh, and we can get glimmers of what I would call our mythos or mythic purpose, mythopoetics. It's like the purpose that we're here to live, but it doesn't come it's not like a vocation or a role, like, oh, I'm supposed to be a father, I'm supposed to be a writer or a talk show host. It's more like, for me, I think I shared some in my book. Like, one of my names is I'm a wild love prayer bear. And there's a longer name I have in my book too. But each of those pieces have come to me as a mythic image. I also have I shared some in my book too about a world tree and the cave pool underneath and the underground river, the bear that moves between the worlds. So there's certain mythic images that come that have to do with, they're like almost like dreams that have to do with like my purpose in the world, like what am I here to do? And it's very mysterious. Like it doesn't give me an easy translation like, oh yeah, I'll just go out and do that. It's more like something we have to sit with and be with and inhabit, and then decide, well, what roles or relationships or actions would this kind of being take in the world? Where would their gifts, where's the niche where their gifts could be given? So the soul journey is a whole thing to almost my individual song or note in the world. But it's a mystery song or note that I learn more about as I offer, and I hear back what happens. And spirit is that that connection, the oneness, the totality, the all, the union with everything. So they both exist at the same time.
And are, for example, humans spirit and soul at the same time?
Yeah, we are. We have a soul or an individual purpose, but we also are a spirit, and our spirit is connected to the spirit of everyone else and the earth.
That's so beautiful. When you think about the connection of you and the rest of the world, it's hard to feel lonely.
That's great. I love that you bring that up. I think sometimes it's hard to feel lonely in nature, if even if you're alone. I take people on solo journeys into the wilderness, like they spend several days and nights in the wilderness alone. But we call it a solo, but I'm always like, it's not really a solo because you're surrounded by all these beings in nature. It's like it's a solo from other humans, but you have lots of company.
When I tell people to go into nature, because it's an important practice for your ultimate well-being. If you're not in touch with nature, then you're missing out on a huge aspect of yourself. And I want to tell them to just kind of, understand their relationship with nature. I said, just go in there with your problems and look at how fast they suck it up and replace it with just inner calm. It's so quick. You can't really go in there with a ton of problems and come out with the same amount of problems. They're energy cleansers, basically. I feel like, especially like trees and plants, when I go there, it's almost like they take my dirty stuff and they give me all their love. That's mine because I don't really talk. They don't talk back to me. I've always talked to trees and I talk to rocks. I talk to everything because I think that, they're intelligent energy beings on just different kinds of them. And I teach my children, I'm like, everything's alive, even this, plastic. And I say plastic because people don't think of plastic as, because it's synthetic and it's still part of Earth. It's still part of Earth. I just can't. To me, there's nothing that's synthetic. By the way, I mean we're talking about the Earth's and the energy of nature. But to me, we've forgotten that everything is part of the planet, and some things we respect, and we've learned that we need to do more of this to take care of the Earth, and some things we've kind of destroyed, and that's hurting the Earth. But even the destructive stuff should still be respected because it is God, in my opinion. And it's just really weird because most people don't agree with me on that. But I always say, it's like our body has good cells, bad cells, and all sorts of stuff. And when we respect it, then we can find a solution. I love that you really do advocate for the earth because I feel like you're on a mission with this book. And I love that's how you end the book about how we need to, you know, that we need to take care of the earth.
Yeah, yeah, I do, and I do, and I agree that everything that exists does originally come from the earth, and it also seems like humans have gone off track a little bit in the things that they've created with those elements of the earth and the way that they've mined or taken things from the earth to create things that are destructive for the earth, that are sort of made to create certain things for humans or a certain kind of human way of life, but are out of balance with the earth's systems and cycles. So I advocate that health and wellness is moving us in a trajectory where we can bring ourselves back into balance. And of course, some people say that's impossible, and I have no idea whether it is or it isn't. But it's just about the here and now. If I'm to be in healthy relationship with the earth, to me, part of that relationship, just like if my children or my family, if I saw them hurting from the way certain things were being enacted, I would want to change that or alter that or create different ways. And I wouldn't know whether it would work, whether they could get well. I always say that because I had cancer, and the odds were against me, that I would get well when I had cancer when I was 21. But people researched and thought about family and took care of me, and here I still am, miraculously against the odds. So it's hard for us to calculate, well, what can we do, and will it work, or when it won't work. It's just about, well, what needs to happen to bring us back into balance. What systems and structures do we need to end, stop, bring down? What new ways of life do we need to move towards? And I think of it more of a collective practice rather than just an individual practice. I know that a lot of the environmental movement has been what we individually do, this and that, which is great. There's some pieces of that that are great, but as individuals, we're only so strong. It's the collective possibility of us coming together to make change in the way systems are operating on the earth. And bringing us back into balance is, I think, stopping the destruction of land and species as much as we can, halting it, and trying to restore places that have been turned into human use only, and bringing them back into wild ecosystems. And we need more and more of that.
I think you're doing your part really well, because what you're teaching people is to become one with nature. And when you become one with nature and you tap into your ability to experience nature in a way that it's part of you, it's hard to hurt nature. And when you learn to talk to, or really just get in touch and channel the energy of what's out there, you stop thinking selfishly. It's just, it has to happen. Well, you do think selfishly. We always think selfishly, but when you become one with the earth, your selfish thoughts will be about protecting the earth, because now you're protecting all of you, not just this little tiny portion of you. And I think your book, if people can get that out of it, is a great contributor to maybe people learning about their connection to the world and still being selfish and taking care of their bigger, giant, round self that's zooming through the stars.
Yeah, happy. I'm just remembering back, happy, to one thing that you said about how nature clears you out. Like when you go in, you just feel like it takes out all the bad stuff or the trash, and just renews you, centers you. And that, I think, is a great argument for how we're not separate, and the health of the planet is connected to our own health, which is that we're better humans in wild places. We are more whole and more ourselves, and so we need those wild places. We need all of them, and as many as we can. And the future generations of our children and our children's children, they need those wild places too. Because I agree, being in wild places, I kind of want to be in wild places most of the time, because I feel like I'm connected to the myself, the greatest truth in me, as well as of the world in those places. And so we need more of those places. There's people, I always get sad, there's people that I have done some online programs with in cities all over the world that have no access to real wild places because there's so few of them. And of course we can still do practice with any wilderness, the stars in the sky, the river that's going through town, the rain that's falling, the wilderness that was on the land before that city became a city. So we can do it like that, but at the same time, the best thing is to actually have the wild places still here with us.
I think it is possible to do it in this world, because I think we're going to go a little bit off the deep end and get to the danger zone when we realize, oh shoot, we screwed up. I think if we destroy the planet will say, F you, I'm going to take my life back. I'm going to kill you guys off, and then I'm going to regrow the trees and regrow everything. This is my worst case scenario, by the way. The worst case scenario is we destroy the planet and the planet just kills us and says, here, you get what you deserve. and then there's a few of us left over, and then the rest of us, are on the other side in the spiritual world. And the earth slowly reclaims its power, because ultimately it's not about us, it's the planet. If the planet survives, we're good, in my opinion. We all cycle through a 100-year life, if most of us don't make it that far. But we need to make sure that doesn't happen. And we need to make sure the earth doesn't, we don't need to have earth kill us off for it to thrive. We have the capacity to make the earth thrive now. Oh,
Well, the part of what you said I resonate with is that what's best for the earth. It's ultimately what will help the earth survive, and that's just a great way of thinking in general. Whatever we can or can't or aren't able to do, but to actually have, I think of the earth like it is a higher power. I think of it like the sacred, like God herself. So if that's the case, how do we move towards you know living in balance and putting her first in the way we create and live.
I hope that we can all do that. And I hope that people will wake up and realize what's happening. And I know some of the stuff I say, I say with lots of love, but I have such a respect for nature that I don't really value us as much as I value nature in general and the planets. So I might sometimes sound harsh with the way I say certain things, but I always mean it in a way that's more on the grand scale. And I don't, so I just wanted to say, I'm gonna walk away with like that crazy guy just said, it's okay if we kill the earth. I'm like, we're not killing the earth. The earth is too smart.
One thing too, I'll just add is I find that the earth really, I feel like I could be wrong, but since I do a lot of earth ceremony and earth listening with a lot of groups of people, sometimes because of what humans are doing on the planet, it could seem almost like, well, humans are just a scourge on the planet, get rid of them. And I can easily see arguments for that, but I also have been in such sacred ceremony with humans on the earth where they're fasting to listen to the earth and they're giving such love that I also at times when I witness humans being with the earth in that way, I feel like the earth almost gobbles it up. Like the earth is hungry to have that kind of deep and caring listening relationship with humans.
Yeah, because we are the earth. We are part of the earth. And if we get killed off, part of earth is getting killed off.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
but we gotta respect it. I'm like, that's basically my thing. Gotta respect it, or. But I'm not worried about the earth at all. It's too smart, it's too wise, it's too um grand for anything that we can do. Ultimately, I think eons, I think centuries, millennia. That's always been my way of thinking. I always think of things as a long span as opposed to just short lifetimes. But I really hope that people start doing what you suggest. And I feel like more people are waking up, and more people, destruction's happening, but more and more people are like you are doing these amazing things to wake people up. Your soul, I'm sure that's one of its main purposes, is here to reconnect us to the world. And if there's a you out there, that means there's more of you out there, and we have a chance at survival, and this earth has a chance at revival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of just coming into what it is like to live in a sacred, honoring way with the earth, the way that I feel it seems like humans were put on the earth to live, where we have a deep relationship and we're listening and visioning and supporting one another and partners in creation.
I think we're really headed that way. I really think we're headed that way. I just feel like humans need to see the dark side before they wake up. It's part of our nature. And I think we're getting to the dark side where people are really learning that, we are hurting the planet. I saw something yesterday about Texas, and, it's a very red state. The politicians are not really into climate change or anything like that, but they've become the fastest growing renewable energy um, state. They're developing new renewable energy like in faster than California right now. I'm sure it's money is involved, or to save money or whatever, but I don't care. I'm just glad that to see that it gave me so much hope. And it was right. But yes, last night when I was reading it, right before I was about to do this interview, and I thought, okay, if they can start doing stuff to renew the energy, for renewable energy and really taking care of the planet and cutting down on fossil fuels, and maybe there's hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, it's there's it seems like there's so much to reimagine and embody involved with the practices, and in part involves being well enough and resourced enough to be able to listen and receive the directions that we're here
So
for.
if anybody is interested in finding out how to learn to listen and how to tap into your inner wisdom and how to tap into the earth's wisdom and really learn and have a practical guide to being the best version of yourself, for the planet, and just for the world, you got to right now, as soon as you stop, just go to there's a link in the bio, or just go to Amazon and look up Wild Yoga with Rebecca Wildbear. And please, please, please check this book out. It's wonderful. I couldn't tell you how amazing it is. It's got so much amazing content in it that it could literally be 3 books. And I was just glued to it. It's from page 1 to the final page, and I just loved Rebecca. You're a unique, special soul on this planet. I am so happy there's people like you in this world, because the world needs you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me,
Of course,
sharing my.
thank you for being on the show. And thank you so much for my viewers and listeners for tuning in. My name is Happy. Again, thank you for watching. Please make sure to write a review, write a comment, subscribe, and also go buy the book. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.